Hello folks, and welcome to another NHIG demonstration video. Today we're going to be looking at the process of branch welding and demonstrate that. Branch welds are typically used where we want to add material to an object without the need for splitting or chisel cutting or setting down. Typically these are used on hinges, door furniture, etc. and the process can be used on varying scales. Here we see close-up detail of branch welds on some church gate hinges. So as you can see, all these decorative elements were added separately. In order to demonstrate this, we are going to add a branch weld to a piece of flat bar. This can simulate adding decorative elements to a hinge. So here we have the added decorative element, which was forged off camera, and we are going to weld this at this particular angle here. In their current state, there is overlap between the two pieces. What we are going to do is forge down the additional piece on an angle in order to remove that overlap. This means forging in a taper on the end of the bar. While I'm forging the taper, I am making an effort to not remove too much of the thickness which I am gaining. This is because during the welding process I may end up oxidizing or thinning the material, so I want as much thickness there as possible. Additionally, I am setting this taper at a slight angle in order to create a welding plane. This is known as scarfing. And here is the first component, tapered and scarfed. The reason we create a scarf is because if we attempt to weld two straight edges, they will simply guillotine each other. The scarfed material creates what is known as a welding plane, which will allow the two faces to interact with minimal scarring. So having scarfed the first piece, we will now scarf the second piece. This scarf here is done differently and needs to be on the opposite side from where you want to weld. This is because the object will be reversed over after the weld. In order to create this central scarf, I will use a ball peen and I will simply knock in the edge to create that weld plane taper. Now, as you can see, I have both of my scarves, and as mentioned before, the main body will be reversed and welded from the back side. This is because I want the two flat surfaces to mate. The upset area of the first component will go towards filling the divot created in the central bar by the scarving process. At this stage, it's important for both pieces to be in the correct orientation when I assemble them. In order to help me with this, I will put a bunch of chalk on the correct sides so that I know that if I can't see the chalk, they are in the wrong orientation. I will also mark up the anvil in order to give me a visual reference as to where the components need to be when I set the weld. I do this because when two components are white hot, it can be difficult to identify individual features. The two components are welded. I first tack them together and then go for a full body weld. As you can see, I am being very sparing with my hammer blows. You have a limited amount of time in order to set the weld before the material is too cool. If you carry on forging and the material is too cold, any cold shuts that haven't welded yet will be forged out and create long, thin cracks along the piece. Now we'll be very careful to forge in that transition in order to create a nice neat effect. Once welded, I can dress the components. Here I am coming over the bick in order to create a nice clean transition between the two parts. And here the component is fully welded. You can see traces of the weld. This is normal, as you saw from the images at the beginning. I will then shape the components to where I need them to be. You can do a lot more pre-shaping prior to welding. In some cases this will be necessary if you are creating a complex piece. In other instances it is more convenient to weld them first and then shape them afterwards. This will depend entirely on the object which you are making. And here we have the completed weld and shaping. If we compare this to the image I showed at the start, you can see that the weld is visible in exactly the same manner. Additional cleaning up and blending in can be done with decorative file work or decorative chisel work. Thank you very much for watching.